Good morning, Rabbi Sai. Lilu Nishmas Geula Golda. Welcome to all the guests. We have Reb Tzvi Friedman from Borough Park. Who else do we have here? What's your name? Zevi Zolti. Shalom Aleichem. Where are you from? Manchester. It just seems like there's an overwhelming amount of people from Manchester. Leafman. Right. New Zevi. Manchester City. Obviously, okay. Big difference. The truth is that the amount of people that we had in the last few weeks from Manchester, it just seems like they were telling me, no, there's only 10 people in Manchester and London. I think there's more people in Manchester now than London. It's unbelievable. So maybe we have to change it. Mendy, you're coming with me to London, Be'ez Hashem? Okay. Anybody want to come for the Siyum? You'll come for real, Jonathan? Let's go.
I would come, but I'll give you about name.
Yeah, not people that. Okay, fine. It is with the great sadness that I inform you of the passing of a dear friend and member of the Crown Heights Chabad Chabura, Reb Shimi Ben Abu. It's kind of wonderful, 49-year-old man, a local business owner, and an amazing dad to his 5 beautiful kids. After being diagnosed with a terrible illness, we had the zchus to have him join our Chabura. For the first time in his life, learning Gemara was exciting to him, and he purchased a set of Shas within the first few weeks starting with us. His kids tormented him on many occasions with a good morning Abba. And the sound of learning Torah permeated his home. Although he's only able to learn with us for a few short months, there were some of the brightest moments in a super trying time. 2 weeks before his P'tira, I gifted him with a special MDY yarmulke, which his wife said he wore with pride. He'll be greatly missed by all those who loved him and the many who were the beneficiaries of the unlimited chesed. May the neshama of Shimon ben Osher have an aliyah. May his family have an achama. May be zoche to see him once again in a guf gashmi with the coming of Mashiach speedily in our days. Chaim Shloimi Klein. Neshama should have an aliyah. My sister posted this funny story. My brother learning in the airport. He met a Jewish guy when they went camping, and he went over to Danny and he said, "Are you a Stefansky guy? When are we doing the daf?" He said, "I'm doing it with Bornstein." Okay. Now, somebody sent this to me yesterday. If you don't recognize the voice, I'll tell you it is. Oh no, you can't hear? Oh, here.
זה עובד המיקרופון?
אלו! Agud Reboy Sai! Agud Chodesh! Beautiful. Fine. It's me screaming Elo. The kids are okay. From Hershey Weinberger in Lakewood, Irat Torah, between the chuppah and the meal. Jonathan, it's not only your grandchildren that don't get video time. I don't know if this is Shlomi Dax. From the back, it is Daskal. It is Shlomi Daskal. From the behind, it looks Shlomi Daskal. Okay. So there's a picture taken last night from Irat Torah. If it's him. Attached are the pictures of the 3 siyum that I made during the 9 days of Shana, Beitz, and Yevamis. This is from Yechiel Unfanger from Ramat Shlomo in Yerushalayim. I've been with the Shir since the end of Tainus and made it a mission to learn every day's daf plus an extra daf, learning the Gemara that I've missed since Brachos. Now holding by the end of Masechta Sukkos. A special and original gift I got from my wife is a frame with all the siyumim I've made so far. Every time I make another siyum, I highlight the Masechta with the darkest sticker, the siyum Masechta. Thank you for changing my life and my family's life. May Hashem continue giving you the strength to continue changing people's life through the daf. Your Talmud, Yechiel Unfanger, Ramat Shlomo Yerushalayim. Yeah, let's see.
כבוד המשגיח, זה עובד המיקרופון? כן.
אלו! Agud Reboy Sai! Agud Chodesh! All right, beautiful. I don't like it. What do you want? The Parnasak Koilel for the month. All the new people that joined, let's zchus all the people who joined. Parnasak Koilel for the month. Avi and Richard. Everybody's laughing besides Noah. What's the matter? What happened? You're still in Romania? Ma? He wasn't here Motzei Shabbos. He didn't have what's going on. Okay, you had to be in Motzei Shabbos. It was gewaldig Motzei Shabbos. Koilo, Parasat Koilo, for the month, Avi Rachel coming asking in memory of Rachel's mother, raise a Gittel Bas Esther, Rita should be a Melitza Yehoshua on behalf of us and our children. Parasat Koilo for the week. The Refuah Esther Bas Fortuna Biton. The Masechta is sponsored. Lilu Nishmas Geula Golda ben Aaron, Lilu Nishmas Geula Shalom, and for that for my children. Second sponsor of the Masechta, Jeff Rosner, and zchus my son Yosef Simcha Chaim ben Torah Chana Refuah Shlaima. Parnas Chodesh Dr. Avrum Epstein, in memory of my precious Southern Belle wife, mother, and grandmother Rita Gay Epstein. Parnas Chodesh number 2, Michael Benmeleh, Motty Perl Aaron Hirsch, to be zoche to make it to Uman Rosh this year.
Amen.
Parnas Chodesh number 3, Lilu Nishmas Geula Parnas Yomi, Dan Rubinoff. In honor of my grandfather's yahrzeit today, Yaakov Moshe ben Yosef Chaim. What happened with yesterday? We said it yesterday.
No, 2 different spots.
No, it was Dan Rubinoff yesterday.
Yes.
But 2 different names.
Yeah.
I got it. Sheldon Wrotslavsky, who came yesterday. Lilu Nishmas Geula Golda Yehoshua Yisroel yahrzeit is today, Rosh Chodesh. Okay? In honor of Reb Eli, so we can continue to drink from the fountains of Torah. MDY Chabad, Lilu Nishmas Chavrein Reb Shimon ben Yibal Chaim Toivim Reb Osher. I guess that's Shlomi Klein or MDY Chabad. Okay.
You missed a guest in the front next to Rabbi Rosner.
Oh, Shalom Aleichem. Hi, Shalom Aleichem. What's your name? Craig Gutman. From? In Toronto. That's right. Okay. Rabbi, so we have a new minhag, but I forgot to bring my phone. That after Shir, if you're what? Happy birthday, Rabbi Victor Fold. Where is he? We don't stop announce people's birthdays, then it would be ended over safe. Okay. But you should I think we should listen to this one again. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so yesterday we were holding Daf Yomi Amud Beis all the way in the bottom. Boy Reb Elazar. We might get to the Mishnah today, to the new parak. We could even do the Mishnah, but even if we only get to the new parak, tomorrow's Daf is very short. So we had yesterday Sak Zeraf in the center of this chart. The charts are not working today because the sound is off. Oh, they are. Okay, fine. So Sak Zeraf has to do with the names of the Amoraim that said these memories, Rav Sheshes, Rav Shlokish. Now, today we're holding the third Shaila, Reb Elazar. He's going to ask the question about Shnia. Miana, Yivama, Shnia, Arusa, Anusa. Okay. So what's a Shnia? So going back to the charts of Yivamas, these are all brand new, by the way, because I couldn't really find them. But I didn't really do charts for Shnias. But here we go. We have a couple that's married. Older couple, they have a son. The dentist from the 5 towns. The son gets married to a 5-towner. And they have another son. Now, that's a grandson. Levi is a grandson to the Burka lady in white. Now, the Burka lady's husband dies. In other words, his grandfather dies. Goes Levi, and he marries his own grandmother. And that's only Asur Midrabanan. Now, I asked a question at my table, and the women at my table had a very hard time with this halacha. I asked, what's the halacha? Is it us or not? They didn't want to answer. They said, it's impossible. It'll never happen. They were insistent. Okay, fine. Akopanim, this guy marries his grandmother. She's a shnia. She's only a secondary erva, which is all, it's not awesome in that Torah, it's only awesome in the Rabbana. And they produced a child. The Gemara Shaila is, does this Levi guy have to support his own daughter? She came out of a union that's Asur Midrabanan Shnia La'arayis. Boy Reb Elazar Bas Shnia. The daughter of a Shnia, the daughter of a grandmother. You married your own grandmother, Yesh Lam Mizonos. Or Yelam Mizonos. Daf Nun Daled Amud Aleph. Kiv and Les Leksuba, Les Lam Mizone. We punish her. We say, be careful, don't marry your grandchild, and if you do, we're going to take away your entire ksuba. Aidilma, Ima, the Avda Yisura, Kansura Abanam. Okay, the grandmother, the white Burka lady, she was over in Isser, so she gets punished. But the daughter, the Avda Yisura, the Kansura Abanam. What did the daughter do wrong? Why should she not be sustained? Teiku. Next question, by Rava. So going back to the chart, Rava is in the Zaraf, the Reish of the Zaraf, and he's going to ask a question about Arusa. Bas Arusa Yeshla Mezonos. Right. It's all correct. No, I'm saying since Not because one thing has nothing to do. We punish her, we take away ksuba. The mezainas is in the ksuba. And therefore, you would think that you erase one, you erase it all, or maybe not. Bayrab, basarusa. So somebody had relations with his own kala, which is asur, and then he died. What's the question? Kivin this ksuba islam. Since she has a ksuba, so either we're going to see this a few times. Either we hold that an arusa gets a ksuba, and even if you hold that arusa doesn't get a ksuba, only an asua gets a ksuba, but maybe he went ahead and he gave her a ksuba. Kivin this ksuba islam. Since it takes effect when they get married, lesla. She was pre the Tanai the Ksuba. So the Tanai the Ksuba had nothing to do with her. She came into existence before it, Teiku. By Rapapa, and finally, the final question, the pay of Zeraf, Papa, Anusa. By Rapapa. This is a very interesting Shiloh. Bas Anusa Yishlam Mizonis, Elam Mizonis, it also gives us a little bit of Chazara to that Sugya. Now, a person violated a woman. The halacha is that he must marry her if she agrees, and he can never divorce her. What is the whole purpose of a ksuba? The whole purpose of a ksuba is that a person shouldn't divorce his wife, but he can't divorce his wife even if he wanted to. So there's no ksuba. Well, I'll leave it there. According to him, even though now he pays her the 200 as a kinas. Now, is that instead of the ksuba? Not instead of the ksuba. So according to Reb Eli, he still has to give her another 100. So there's no shayla here. Since he gives her a ksuba, there's mezainas as well. It's in the ksuba. Rabbanan say no. He's paying her the 200 that goes in the ksuba. He pays her as a knas. So there's no ksuba. But maybe there's no ksuba, but there's the t'nai of the ksuba, the conditions in the ksuba which state that one has to support his daughter. But perhaps you could say no. There is no concept of ksuba for this woman because she already got paid. So there's no mezainis. What's the whole point? This one idea that we don't, Chacham, they don't want you to, it should be easy for you to divorce her. I just was seeing today, and we discussed it a few times, and finally I saw somebody talk about it. That according to the Shulchan Aruch, Rabbi Schoenberg is here, I wanted to ask him before I said, but here, I'll show you this chart, it has to do with later, but according to Shulchan Aruch, 200 zuz equals 120 gram, and the Chazon Ish says, well, the zuzim today are a little, they have some, other material at 16%, so it's a little bit more. But if you do the calculation at 60 cents a gram times 120 grams, it's $72. So for $72, your wife got you really mad. So for $72, you're not going to divorce her. That's going to stop somebody from divorcing his wife. And the Ramah says it's 961 grams, so it's 577. So then Rabbi Shlomo was saying, but you have to do skukim. But that's Reb Moshe Feinstein says, since it's such a small amount, you have to add and let's punish the person. Let's make it much harder. But with the Raisa, that's the amount. It's 72 in all Shas. It's $70. What?
You're missing out choices.
Okay, but what is that? Okay.
That's a big figure.
Yeah. Okay.
Just for inflation. The cooking is gold.
However, we're not even talking about we're talking so. But a guy that was ma'anis, but a guy that was ma'anis doesn't have to give skukim. Guy that's ma'anis gives $72 and he's out, or $577, whatever it is, according to Ramah. But the Gemara says that's instead okay. No, they asked the Shaila, so for that amount, and they don't talk. Okay. Well, the answer I saw them saying is that they were so poor then that Shishum Miskazim Tal Sechad. They would wear one garment for 6 people, and they had no money. There was no bread. You see, everybody's fighting over 2 days of mezainas. Who owes who? And who cares? Today, nobody cares. You take some pretzels, whatever. You go back there. It was a whole thing. They were so poor that $72 or $577 was a lot of money. Like the guy, you can see it in Africa. Like the guy that he walks every single day of his life, miles upon miles, because he can never afford a bike. Zog the Gemara.
Today,
yeah.
they hardly ever value silver because it's usually part of an overall suffering. child custody, various other factors.
Yeah, today some Kesubos are $1 million. You want me to divorce your daughter? $1 million. Depends who the shver is. Yeah, I get it. Right. I get it, but the question is, okay, in the time of the Gemara, I don't know if they were Yosef Skukim, and why was that a deterrent, the $72? Okay. So we're done with these questions. This guy can't anyways divorce his wife. The Torah says, now it says in the Kesubos, we have to be medayik every word. It says in the Kesubos, we're being medayik the lashon of the Chachamim. It says that when you become an almana, you'll sit in my house. Bebeisi. And Rashi points out later on that it says in the Kesubos the word bebeisi twice. It's like mamish a drasha that we take from the Torah. We're going to learn why the Chachamim institute the word bebeisi twice. It says the Gemara Tani Rav Yosef bebeisi v'le bebikti. Not in a small hut. So the Yarshim, if they have a small little tent that they live in, going back to Africa, it's mamish. Am I exaggerating, Mendy? You go down the highway, thousands upon thousands of these little huts that are literally in feet, maybe, 8 shacks, 10 feet by 10 feet. This is where families live, made out of, tin, tin, and who knows what, a little wind goes by, Ruach Metzuya gets knocked down. People die there, they told me in the winter when it rains, thousands, they just, no revayim. No electric, no bathrooms, there's thousands.
No electric, also people don't have.
Even with houses, people don't have electric. That's true too. Yeah. And people with electric also don't have electric because the government shuts off the electric. I was in middle shear and the electric went off and Mazel, his brother, has a generator and goes out. It's Ma'aseh Shechayim over there. Okay. It's an interesting place. They love it. By the way, everybody lives, I don't know if you know, people are there, it's not a chiddush, but everybody lives behind a giant, tall wall with an electric fence. That's how they live. And a kid asked me, he goes, what in Israel, they don't have electric fences and walls before your house? In America, the kids don't know. This is normal living. You go in, you look around, and the people that I was at, they have guards, because it doesn't cost that much, $700 a month. You have a guy sitting and they build a booth in front of the house. Not everybody. Guards in front of your house. That's how they live. Okay. That's life. That's how they live it. But they're very, very nice people. Tani Rav Yosef, they are. I'm serious. They're very nice over there. Bebeisi v'lo bebiksi, not this little hut. We don't understand it. We've never seen it. If you go over there, you understand exactly what I'm talking about. A hut. Now, I don't want my father's almana in my hut just because he put in the ksuva that she's going to live in my house. A house. If I have a house with a few bedrooms, I'll give her one of my bedrooms, but not in my little hut. So you have medayik in the word. Bebeisi v'lo bebiksi. It's much like in the Torah. It says in the word bebayis, it's v'lo bebiksi. Ava mezoyne isla. But you should know she gets support. Now, why would I think she doesn't get support? Because they go together. If you live in my house, I'll give you support. That's what we said the other day. If I could return you to be a wife, then I have to redeem you. Each thing is dependent on the other, I would think. No, they're not dependent on each other. They are dependent on each other. If you don't understand that story, then you don't understand what Mar Baravashi is saying. Baravashi is saying, no. If I don't live in your house, I don't give a Zionist. One is dependent on the other. They're in the same line. You don't have to give her a house. Just because she doesn't get a house doesn't mean she doesn't get supported. One is under the other. Omer of Nachman, Omer Shmuel. Very interesting concept. Is interesting to understand. A woman gets supported when she's attached to her husband, her late husband. As soon as she makes up her mind, she's disconnected to him. For instance, she starts going on dates. She starts listening to shidduchim. She starts putting on makeup, for instance. She disconnects with her husband. Cut. No more support. So what is the disconnect? How do you disconnect from your husband? They say, I have a great shidduch for you. And she says, okay, I'm hearing, I'll listen. Once she makes up that decision, she's going to date other people. It doesn't even mean she went on a date. Nispaisa, she agreed to it. Because it says in the Kesubos, Meger al munasayich. As long as you're my almana, but you're not an almana, that's it. You're done with me. Hala nispaisa. But if she doesn't agree, they just read her shidduch. They just read her shidduch. She doesn't get mezainis. Omer Avanon lididim mefarsh leminei demar Shmuel. I heard no. Holon is paisa yesh lo mezainis. Omer Avanon lididim mefarsh leminei demar Shmuel. Omer machmas ploini bali. If she says the reason, okay, question. You want to say it's a question? Holon is paisa yesh lo mezainis. Omer Avanon, yeah, I'll explain to you. Mefarsh leminei demar Shmuel. Omra machmas ploini bali. If she explains, she says the reason why I'm not interested in shidduchim is because I still miss my husband. I'm not interested yet. I'm not ready. Yesh lo mezainis. That shows she's still connected to her husband, to her late husband. But if they just read her bad shidduchim, that means she's interested in detaching from her late husband, but she's just not interested in this new guy they're reading to her. Then she loses her mezainis because she detached from her husband. Eila mezainis. Omer Av Chizda Zinsa Ein lo mezainis. Now, here comes a tremendous chiddush. This part is not such a chiddush. You would also probably say to yourself, if a woman went ahead and was mizana, it's no worse than going on a date. The Gemara says no. You can be mechalik. You can say znus is not a detachment from her husband. But over here, Rav Chizda says once she's mizana, she also detached from her husband. Omer Rav Yosef kichalo piksa ein lo mezainis. If she put on makeup, did her hair, she doesn't have mezainis. That's showing that she's interested in dating, in meeting a new husband. Now, Motzi Shabbos, the Gemara said this thing that if a husband found out that his wife is captured, he goes by finding out. And I just asked, I said, I looked everywhere and I couldn't find, what does it have to do with the husband finding out that his wife was captured? When she's captured, he's chayiv to redeem her. If he was sleeping while she was captured, he's only chayiv when he wakes up. If somebody breaks a window, when is he chayiv? When he finds out that he broke the window? Or when he broke the window? He breaks a window, and 3 days later somebody said, when you threw that ball to your son, it hit my window and broke. So he's only chayiv 3 days later, he's chayiv when he broke it. When she gets captured. Okay, I asked the question. 2 people today, including the anonymous sponsor for the koilel from Lakewood, he sent it to me. Ayel Sashachar, Reb Shteiman asked the question and he discusses it. Fine. So I'm throwing out a question now, another thing that I couldn't find yesterday. I asked Michael Ruzo, and he didn't know. Over here it seems like that on an almana, a woman who was married to somebody, doesn't cover her hair. It says she does her hair. What does doing her hair mean? She braids her hair for what? For shidduchim. That means people see her hair. Doesn't mean she's braiding her sheitel, I don't think. Upirkasa. One of the pirushim, and that's how the typical pirush is, she braids her hair. Okay, so if somebody has a pshat, because I don't think that's how we're passing today. I don't think anybody in some of the modern Orthodox communities they say the divorcee for shidduchim doesn't have to cover her hair. You can find some sort of heter somewhere. But what for married women? No, yeah. No, that's something else. The cover, but it doesn't mean that the hair was. I don't think hair ever stuck out. It's awesome. How can you? Okay. Anyway, throwing it out there. Says the Gemara, Mando Amar Zinso Kolchkin Kichalo Pirksa. According to Mando, it says that if she was mizana, certainly if she went ahead and she showed that she wants to get married, Mando Amar Kichalo Pirksa Zinso Isla. Listen to this. If she's doing her makeup and her hair, okay, that shows that she's in shidduchim. Al Zinso Isla, my taima Yetzer Ansa. Unbelievable. Mamsha Pelopline. Because we're not talking about Isurim here. We're talking about what her rotzen is. Is her rotzen to detach from her husband or not? When she shows that she wants to be in shidduchim, she detached from her husband. When she's mizana, she has a taiva. Doesn't mean that she's done with her late husband. So it's thinking that when it comes to, you see from here, interesting thing. Znus, we say it's a taiva. When it comes to Averis also, l'chayra, you have Averis that are taiva, you have Averis that show a detachment. Why are you not doing this and that? It says in Allah you should do it. I don't feel like it. I don't feel like it is more of a detachment. You're showing Kosh Baruch Hu, I don't care about you. If a person has a taiva and he can't control his taiva, okay. Kosh Baruch Hu could deal with it. It's like, okay, I understand him. He had a taiva, he couldn't control. He's addicted. He's whatever. But a guy doesn't do something. or he does something because he just doesn't care, that's a much bigger problem. Those are probably the averos that we should work on. The ones that show disconnect. Yeah, you hear? There's a disconnect and there's a taiva. Taiva, the Gemara says, still connected to the husband. The husband, I'm saying, is a muscle to the Rebbeinu Shleil. Still connected, but you just have a taiva.
Why does the Gemara use the word zchus?
It is znos. What do you mean? She went with another man not being married. She's mizana. It's znos. That's znos. Without marriage.
Her husband died.
So what? She's a pani above, it's still znos. Without kiddushin, without anything. She went with a man. We call a man went with a zayna, and she went with what? Znos. It's not. It's not a isidar. It's not a eshes. She's not chayiv misa, but it's an active znos. Yeah. Zog the Gemara. We don't paskin that if you do your makeup or whatever shidduchim, listening to shidduch, that is not the determining factor. What is? Once she goes and declares in Bezdin, she demands her ksuba in Bezdin. That's the not makeup. Says the Veloi, what if she sold her ksuba? Or mishkin ksubasa. She gave her ksuba as a security. Also ksubasa apoiteki. La'acher. Apoiteki just means that apoite heikai. If she owes money, she says, I want you to collect from this field. Or from this field that's meshuba to my ksuba. Ein la mezainas. Why? Because it's as if she already collected the ksuba. Right? When you collect the ksuba, you don't have mezainas. She gave her ksuba towards a loan. She gave her ksuba for security. That's it. So she lost her mezainas. But the Gemara says, Haniyin avtivas lai. How come in the list it doesn't say? It says a mashkin, a poitikya. It should also say, and then when she goes to Bezdin, she loses her ksuba. Says the Gemara, no, it's on a different list. Hani bein bebezdin, bein shaloi bebezdin. When a woman says my ksuba should be a security, it doesn't have to be in front of Bezdin. However, Tevas, when she demands her ksuba, bebezdin in shaloi bebezdin lai. So it's on a different list. Don't ask me that's not on this list. You're right, it's not on this list because it's on a different list. It's on the list of what has to be done in front of Bezdin in order to lose your ksuba, in order to lose the mezainas. What has to be done in Bezdin is when you demand your ksuba. So we had a machlokes in the Mishnah whether the Yisayimim could just pay off the ksuba and get rid of the almana. The mezainas are too much. Restaurants, the whole thing, Shabbosim, Yom Tovim, pay it off one time, get rid of her. So in Yerushalayim and in Galil, they said no, it's not up to them, it's up to her. If she demands it, great, not. But in Yehuda, it was up to them, up to the Yisayimim. Itma, Rav Amar halacha kanshi Yehuda, that it's in the hands of the Yisayimim to decide. Ushmul Amar halacha kanshi Galil, like Yerushalayim, it's not in their hands to decide. Says the Gemara, Bavel v'chol parvodea no karav. Bavel and all the outskirt cities are like Rav, that it's in the hands of the Yarshim, just pay her off. Naharda v'chol parvodea. Where's Naharda, Rabbi Isai? In Bavel. It just said Bavel and all the cities next to it are like Rav, but Naharda and all. So the Rashash says here that Bavel is a city in Bavel. It's like New York, like Manhattan in New York. Says Gemara, a story. There's a woman from Mechayza, and she was married to a guy from Naharda. Now, in Naharda, we said it's like Shmuel, that it's not in the hands of the Yarshim to decide. Also, coming to Rav Nachman, he recognized in her accent the Bas Mechayza. She was speaking like a Mechayzin, not like a Naharda. The Yarshim have the right to deny you mezainis now by paying you off. But if you look at the beginning of the story, which he didn't know, she was married to someone from Naharda. Okay, you're right. It goes by the husband where he's at, Naharda. It's like Shmuel. It's in the hands of the Yarshim. I'm sorry, not in the hands of the Yarshim. what's the limit, the city limit of Narda? Wherever they use the measurements of the kav to measure wheat, that's where Narda is. In other words, today, L'mashal, where's Yerushalayim? Wherever they do, let's say, hadlakas neiros, and when do they do it? A certain, much more, way before everybody else. 40 minutes. So I just like L'mashal. I don't know what it is today, but that's how you measure your city. Itmar. Almana, Rav Amar Shalom Masha Leha. Interesting. If an almana I think this is going to shock everybody. When almana leaves, she gets her ksuba, minus all the clothing that her husband bought her, because the husband had no idea that she's going to take it and leave him like that. It was a gift as long as they're together. Ushmul Omar, ain't Shalom Masha Leha. Now, everybody says over here that Allah doesn't mean literally what she's wearing. Although from the Gemara later, the trick that the Reuven's family did, seems like it's on her, but it's not on her. It just means what we know that she owns. The opposite, Rav and Shmuel are going to argue the opposite. Rav who says that when it comes to almana, she has to take off minus all her clothing, but when it comes to a lakit is a person who lives by you, works in your field, and then you give him some clothing so he has something to wear, and then one day he decides to pick up and leave. So, yes, by almana you have to consider the clothing, by the lakit you don't. And Shmuel says by almana you don't, by a lakit you do. Why? Because Shmuel is going to say, a husband, he's mechuyev to give his share ksus v'ayna. Ksus, everybody agrees that the word ksus means clothing. You don't have to give your lakit clothing. So if I give him clothing, says Shmuel, let him pay it back when he leaves. Rav Kahana saying v'chein belakit. There's no machlokes. It's the same. Almana and the lakit are the same. Uman Rosh and he puts a simon in there. Yasma. Now what's a yasam? A yasam is a lakit. Tosfos read over here says that just like a yasam doesn't have clothing, so too this lakit, because we say a yasma v'armalta, a yasam and a widow. Shalach, they should remove their clothing or puk, get out of here. In other words, we have to count all their clothing in the ksuba. We have a Mefurish Mishnah that says like Shmuel, yet the halacha is exactly like Rav Desnan. It says in the Mishnah, if a person says everything I own goes to the Beis Hamikdash, and or he says like in this chart over here, Erechim, if somebody's between the age 5 and 20, there's a set amount that he's worth 20 shekel. Eli, when the Beis Hamikdash comes, the Gizber comes to collect, he says, I don't have anything. He says, well, look, your wife is wearing this fancy dress. Let's take that. No, it doesn't include his wife's clothing. What do we see from here? Stop right over here. You see that clothing is not the husband's. Clothing is the wife's. He can't go back and take her clothing, because if he owned it, he would have to give it to the Beis Hamikdash. I hear. Good aura. Noam is asking, what right does Beis Hamikdash have to take it? Because Lamaisi is still alive, and when he's alive, well, maybe not. Maybe he's loaning it to her, and it's still his possession. And not something he bought for his children. Or he took clothing and he dyed it, and he said, this is for my wife. He never gave it to her. It's still considered his wife, just because he wanted to give it to her. He designated it for her. Brand new shoes in a box. The Jordans. No. He said, I'm buying it for my children. It's theirs. You just told me of Mefurish and Mishnah and Erechin that says like Shmuel. Why is the halacha like Rav? Listen to this, boys. I love this thing. I could have gone weiter, but I think we have to be oimen on this one line. Initially, when you read it, Kishmuel Riyata, it flows beautifully, it runs. What's the lashon in Rashi? Pitoim, merutzas, mashmal. When you read it quickly, it's beautiful, fits right in to Shmuel. But once you look into it, you got to look into it. You got to look a little deeper. My taima, kiakni lo, atayt lemekim kamei, lemekim kamei. Atayt lemishkel lemeipav lo yakni lo. Almana, she's leaving her husband, so he never gave it to her on condition she's going to leave. But over here, by the Erchin, a guy made a neder. I'm going to give X amount of money to Beis Hamikdash. He's still married to this woman. So it's still hers. He never took it away from her. Why should he take it away from her? But Almana is running away from him. Great. Just want to stop here for a second or two, because this idea of seeing things on the surface, it looks one way. Mamish looks, we asked the Kasha, it looks like Shmuel. But when you focus and you look into it, you see that the halach is not like him. The opposite. The halach is the reverse from him, because you have to look into it and you have to see. So sometimes the same thing when it comes to Dan L'Kav Zchus. Dan L'Kav Zchus, your friend, and Dan L'Kav Zchus, the Rebbeinu Shalom. What do I mean? Beautiful story. The Shabbos we had here in Ramat Bet Shemesh. I wasn't here, but they told me over a beautiful story from Tolsha Rebbe. Tolsha Rebbe, with big Baal Tzedakah, gave a lot of money, and the Gabayim said, we're going to go bankrupt the way you give. He says, if I go bankrupt, people will help me. But if the Ani doesn't have money, who's going to help him? I need to help the Ani. So a guy from Eretz Yisrael comes, and he comes to the Tolsha Rebbe. They said, the Rebbe is not taking people now. So he said, but I need money. Not take. So he says, okay, I'm not leaving this door until I get money from him. So he sits down, and 1 hour, 2 hours, 5 hours, he sees he's not coming out, so he goes to sleep by the door. He's there for 12 hours. Now, of course, the people start lining up. He's the first one in line. He's so excited, first one in line. All of a sudden, this Gvir's fancy guy, the suit, the tie, comes, cuts the whole line, and goes right into the Rebbe. So this guy's furious. Chutzpah, treating me like garbage. Who am I? I'm here 12 hours, and because he has a little money, so he goes into the Rebbe. The Rebbe says, "No, how much do you need?" He tells him a certain amount. I need 50,000 shekel. He writes out a check, 50,000 shekel, gives him the thing. So the Rebbe says, "Why are you not happy? Why are you still broigus?" He says, "Because it's not about the money. Wherever I go, they treat me like a schnar. I'm a nobody. I'm sitting here in line for 12 hours. 12 hours, and the first one, and I can't come into the Rebbe first. This guy, he thinks he's so rich." So the Rebbe tells him, "Look, I didn't know how to give money to anybody. That's why I didn't accept it. I don't have a dime. Push it. I don't have what to give you. This Gvir came in and he gave me 3 open checks. So I'm giving you the thing. So sometimes you have to be down like Avsus, the Rebbeinu Shalom. You have a bad situation in your life. You don't know what's behind the scenes. One more quick Maisa, beautiful Maisa. I thought it was Givaldic. These two brothers weren't talking for 40 years. So there's a Rav that heard about it. They were together on a vacation somewhere. The Rav says, "What's going on here? Let me make shalom." 40 years. Older people. So he calls one brother and he says, "What happened?" He says, "I sent my brother, I wanted to make shalom with him 40 years ago, or whatever it was. I went to the store, I bought, with all my money, I bought him a silver tray, beautiful silver tray, put cake on it, I sent it to him. You know what he did? He sends me back a glass plate full of bird manure, what do you call it? Soya. That's what he sends me back. Chutzpah, I spent all my money." So he says, "That's terrible." He speaks to the brother. What happened? He says, "I'm sitting there in Purim by my Suda. In comes my brother's kid, my nephew, and he gives me a tray with horse dung on it. Horse manure. That's what he gives me. Chutzpah, so you know what I did? I took the tray, I went to the pigeons, scooped up a bunch of pigeons, so I sent it back." So they asked the kid's already 50 years old, "What happened?" He says, "I was walking my father sent me with this beautiful tray. I slipped, tripped, and the tray fell into a pile of horse manure. But I didn't know what to do. I was embarrassed. I didn't know, I'm not going to go home. My father gave me a patch. In those days, tripping at this. So I delivered the horse manure to the thing. And for that, they didn't speak for 40 years. You see, for that, 40 years they didn't speak because this guy. So you got to be down like zchus. You got to look deeper into things. You'll see that's fakert. It wasn't horse manure. It was the most beautiful tray in Yerushalayim. Zok the Gemara. Again. When you look at it initially, it looks like Shmuel. But when you look deep into it, okay. Zok the Gemara. Kalsa the Reb Eli bar Eliashiv have a kotava Kesubos miyasma. The kala of bar Eliashiv, she went she demanded her ksuba from the Yisraelim. Have a mematya luhu lebedina. She was going to Bezdin Amri. So they kind of tricked her over here. They said zilala milsa the tizli hachi. You're wearing these shattered clothing. Go put on something respectful for the Bezdin. She went. She got her nice and the best stuff. Also come to Ravina, and then they come to Ravina, and they said, the Rav, the Omar Almana Shom Mashallah. Whatever she's wearing, So I said before, it's not literally whatever she's doing, whatever she has. So why did they have to trick her? Because they were concerned that she's going to lie. She doesn't have these clothing. Clothing was very expensive back then. So he paskin based on their trick, all the Shabbos clothes, everything. Says the Gemara, I would Omar Lahu, Neduin Lebras. I want to give, it says Rashi, Tzavos Shchimra. The guy is on his deathbed, and he says, I want to give, it's the first days of school, everybody has to leave on time, but he'll get used to it, Benny, don't worry about it. I want to give, and just Amir, what's the lashon? Amira of the Shchimra. Yeah. What's the lashon? Divrei Shchimra. Yeah. Divrei Shchimra. Thank you. So typically he says, okay, I'm giving her the watch, the ring, the this, whatever it is that you give a kala, it adds up to $10,000. And then everything went down in value. Omer Avidi Barovin, Purnali Asmi. The Yisayimim, they gain. In other words, instead of giving her the $10,000, give her the ring, give her the this, give her that. Today it's worth $8,000. So they gained the $2,000 difference. You don't give the monetary value, you give the actual objects. The actual objects are worth less today. Amud Beis. Sponsored by, in honor of Yankee Baum and Moshe Horn, Refuah Shlaima, and the zchus being able to support them in a Torah and to finish learning Shas with the Rebbe. He said, Arba Mezuzi min Chaim lebras. The wine. Now, he said 400. Again, we see this number 400 throughout Shas many, many, many times. I hope Reb Pesach comes out with a sefer called Arba Mezuzi, and we'll understand exactly what's going on. But usually it's just a guzma, a lot of money from the Chamra. Okay. A yakar chamra. Now, did he mean that it's the wine itself, or it's just a collateral for what he wanted to give? So, Rav Chali asked me, all the Yosef have to give her is 400 exactly, not the wine. Because if they gave her that, what he looked over there, that pile, those barrels of wine, it's worth today 800, not 400. So the Yisayimim gain. Of course, if it's the reverse, the wine is worth much less, they lose. They have to give the 400. They had to take care. Now I don't know if it's the same woman that we had yesterday. It's also Rabbi Yochanan, who the Yisayimim, the Krevim had an almana from their father that they took care of, and he gave them a good piece of advice. And then he had charata. He said, I shouldn't be giving advice like that. Okay, but he's a guy rabbi. Over here, the Gemara says differently. She was a big fresser. She used to eat a lot. And it was costing them a fortune. Also, they came to Rabbi Yochanan. So they came to Rabbi Yochanan. I have a trick, another trick. Ask her nicely if she's willing to take that piece of real estate instead of her mezainas. If she agrees, that's it. Now she's limited to that piece of real estate, but she has to agree. So Taisus just points out that it's different than yesterday. Yesterday we were talking about the medical bills. And how do you get out of the medical bills? You do a trick and you go to the doctor, say how much you want for all the medical bills, and he'll say for life. And he'll say $3 million. You say, fine, I'll take the deal, and then you stick it to her in the ksuba. Let her take it out of the ksuba. But that's because it wasn't with her permission. It was a trick without her permission. It says Taisus over here, it's a trick with her permission. You ask her nicely. You want to take a field? Lamaisa, it's messing her up big time because she eats a lot and it's more than the field. But she might not realize, but she'll agree. At least she's masking. Not true. If you say it in such a lashon, it says Rish Lakish, he argues on his brother-in-law. You just helped her out. You have to give her mezainis, plus she has this whole piece of real estate that she could always rely on if things go sour. Wait a minute, you're arguing on your brother-in-law. You better pay up like I told you. I'll take Rabbi Yochanan right out of your ear. In other words, you better listen to me. I'll put you in Chaim. Also, Rabbi Yochanan, and now they go back and forth. They're snitching on each other. And he says, Kenegdi means literally, he's equal to me. He has the right to argue with me. He's a chosh of a person. What should I do? I'll explain to you what's going on here. If he said lamed, limezainis, this is also for the food. So it's a piece of collateral in addition to all the food that she gets. Omar bimezainis, if she says instead of, that's it. Now she has to use only that piece of real estate and only that piece of real estate only, and they gain chatzas limezainis. Hadran aloch naro, hadran aloch naro, hadran aloch naro. Have a wonderful day.